All right. Welcome, everybody. Dan Tomaszewski here. Hope everybody's doing great. Thank you for joining us for today's event, Mastering Sales Frameworks. We're going to talk about BANT and FAB for success. So, of course, in today's fast-paced world of sales, which we all want more sales to help drive our businesses forward, it's crucial to have effective strategies to qualify leads, understand client needs, and ultimately close deals because that's the name of the game, right? So today we're going to be doing a deep dive into two powerful frameworks, as we mentioned, BANT and FAB. And I'm very excited to bring on two experts from OIT VoIP. We've got Alexandria Boyd, Boyd, Director of Revenue and Operations, and Peyton Boyd, the sales manager. And they will be sharing with us some insights on how to leverage these frameworks for greater success. And we're going to go through and learn about some actionable techniques to identify some of the qualified leads, to tailor your solutions, and to communicate the value of your offering with confidence. So let's get started. Are you guys ready?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us, Dan. It's always a pleasure being on with you and everything MSP. And I am so excited to be joined by Peyton here. Or I guess that side, I gotta remember to mirror when we're we're very excited to be here. This is something that, we're both very passionate about. Me and Peyton both come from a sales family, so I just feel like it's in our blood. But we both are excited to share this with you. I think as a sales professional, it's easy to get excited about the close of a deal, right? You want those wins, you want to hit that quota, you want to bring in more money. But the one thing that I think sales professionals or salespeople in general don't think about is, not every prospect equals your ideal client, right?
Yeah.
So we really want to make sure that we are doing a proper discovery on those leads and prospects to make sure that it's a good fit for both parties. When you are doing these discoveries, you're not just pitching someone, a product or a service. It's a relationship, it's a partnership. So it has to be beneficial on both sides. So just as much as, when that prospect comes into your meeting or comes into that discovery call with you, they're interviewing you, but it shouldn't be one-sided. You should be interviewing each other to make sure that, it's headed in the right direction, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think often anytime we see, the dollar signs, right away, we're all excited, right? We want the business. It's like, yes, much like you alluded to, all revenue is not good revenue, right? We want to make sure that we have a solid fit for us with the client as much as the client with us, right? You mentioned the word partnership and in the relationship, and that's 100% accurate. Peyton, is there anything more you'd want to throw in there on that topic in that regard?
No, I think Alex put it together. And again, Dan's happy to see you. Good to see you again. And good to be here with Everything MSP. I'm excited for today and excited to show these strategies.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's go ahead and kick things off. Let's push up our slide deck here. And there we go. We'll kick things off. Alexandra, I'm going to have you kick things off and take the lead.
Absolutely. Yeah. So unveiling sales discoveries and the crucial role of lead qualification. So just like everything we said there, I'm sure if you haven't already experienced it, if you're not using some method to qualify your leads, you're probably going to wind up in a situation where you close the deal, you onboard that client, and then you realize just a little too late that that client wasn't the best fit and they ended up costing you money because it's taking more time to service that client than you originally thought. So that's why it's so important to be doing a proper discovery here. So I'm going to go ahead and hop on over to the next slide. So if you remember nothing else today, I want you guys to remember that not every prospect equals the ideal client. So we want to make sure we're really taking time to do a proper discovery to qualify these leads, because as we all know, time is money. So we don't want to waste money and we don't want to waste any time. So that's the main goal here. All right. So why a sales discovery is crucial. So effectively qualifying your leads is going to drive better business success. So again, time is money. We want to make sure we're putting our efforts where it matters. So if you're qualifying these leads appropriately, you're really going to be able to focus your efforts on if their needs align closely with your service offerings, right? So it's going to optimize your resource utilization. And by understanding the client's IT environment and challenges up front, then you can better tailor the services that you offer. So you don't want to just go in and start pitching, everything in your stack. Oh, I can do this for you. I can do that for you. You want to make sure that you're offering the services that they need. So you really got to do a proper discovery and ask those questions so you can figure out what it is. So this is going to help you align their needs closely with your service offerings, because that is the main goal. We don't want to be offering services or recommending tools that, aren't really aligned with their business needs.
Yeah, and I think in this particular area, let's face it, our clients, our prospects, they're coming to us because they have a need for someone to manage their technology, and they're looking at this, deer in headlights. They don't quite understand technology, and they don't need to, right? Because whatever they're doing, if they're selling purple widgets or whatever the case may be, technology isn't their product, but it's a tool that helps them, drive their business forward. And so if we just go in there knowing they're already going to be intimidated by the level of technology discussion, but then if we start throwing everything out there, right, just to try to see what sticks, you've lost them. They're gone.
Absolutely. Yeah, it can be very overwhelming, especially if the client isn't, a tech savvy person and they're not fully understanding, and not everyone is willing to say, hey, I don't really understand that. Can you break it down for me? So the last thing you want to do is overwhelm them and run them off. I think in a previous webinar we did together, we talked a lot about prescriptive selling. I love that term so much because it really is a great metaphor. If a client is coming to you, they obviously have a need for something, or there's a pain point that they're trying to fix. So if you take away the sales persona and you think of it as, a doctor, they're coming to you, they have a problem they need to fix. You're prescribing the best solution or the best service. So if you kind of think about it in that frame of mind, I think it really helps put you into a better perspective to really aid your clients and help them in the most beneficial way.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. So we're going to hop on over now. So how are we going to do this? How we are going to do this is with BANT. This is an old framework. Some of you may or may not know about it, but budget, authority, need, and timeline. So those are the four main things that during this discovery, you really want to get answers to. Now, of course, when you're doing this discovery, we don't just want to say, oh, hey, Mr. Client, what's your budget here? And are you the right person to talk to for this? Or do I need to get on the phone with someone else? That is not the way to go about it. Okay. We want to make this very conversational. We want to make this very comfortable. And one of the easiest ways to do that is just to very simply ask them, hey, look, why don't you tell me a little bit more about you and your business and what your needs are so I can get a better idea of, how I can help. That statement right there is immediately going to get them talking. And the more that they're talking, the more information they're going to give you. And they're probably going to touch on each of these topics without even realizing it. So, and if they don't, then that's when you can say, okay, well, you've addressed that, you have this pain point, and, you've said that, you really need this service, by the end of next month because you're going to be out of contract. So they've told you their needs, they've told you their timeline. Then maybe you can go into, the budget talk, which is a little bit, scary for some people. People don't want to talk about money. It's like the elephant in the room, right? But at the end of the day, everyone knows that, there is a fee associated with service. We are in sales. This is a business, and you got to make sure that they do have the budget for it. So if they're not telling you, what their budget necessarily is, then you could start to, maybe go into some of your pricing options. So maybe you have a tiered structure, maybe it's volume based. You can say, hey, look, this is what we can offer you. These are the packages that we have available. Does that fit into, what you were expecting, hoping for? for or looking for. So it doesn't have to be such like a hard poke and stick, way you go about it. Like I said, you want to keep it very conversational here because you want them to stay comfortable and, freely giving you that information.
Yeah, and I think most people greatly respect, having that money discussion, right? Because you want to be respectful of their time and your time, and I think one, it just kind of clears through, gives you that better understanding of what path forward, because you might have multiple options available, and you might be wanting to sell one particular solution and you have to maybe alter your plan of attack.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, and once you do have the question, then okay, is it going to push forward? Do we need to readjust? Is it hitting the mark? Or hey, maybe they have no problem with the budget and you can upsell them and offer them more
Right.
and provide
Yep.
even more value. And that's what I mean by upsell. I don't mean like, just tack more onto the bill. I mean, provide more value, help more, because that's
Yeah,
what we're in the business to do, right?
absolutely. And and I think the key is I say many, most is really more accurate. Small business, medium-sized companies, they don't have a technology budget. So, sometimes, you're walking in there and, if you're having that budget conversation, they don't really know. So they don't know what they don't know. And they have no concept in some cases of what it takes and what it costs to manage technology. So it is of great value for both parties.
Absolutely. And of course, let's not glaze over a timeline too much because that one's a big one too. This one's really going to help you set expectations for both you and the client. You've got to know what their timeline is and if that timeline aligns with yours, right? Because we all know that onboarding a new client does take some time. So do they need services next month? Do they need services yesterday? What are their expectations? They're excited to get going. Can you hit the mark of what they're expecting? So you want to also make sure that you're really setting those expectations for what it's going to look like to move forward with you as well, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think, again, that respect component, if their needs are so urgent and you're not able to fulfill it, you obviously don't want to get yourself into a position in which, you fail, right? So there are scenarios where, maybe you can, accommodate their urgent request, but sometimes you can't. And to make sure that you're saving your reputation, there are certain times where you might have to walk away, and so on.
Absolutely. And that's why, it really is beneficial to take a little bit of time and really depict what that ideal client profile looks like for yourself, right? Because you can do these discoveries all day, but if you don't understand what your most ideal client is, like when you're dating, right? You've got an idea of, your perfect person. You've got all these boxes that you want checked off when you're going to enter a relationship. Well, it's the same thing with your clients, right? You should have those same check boxes for your client. You should know exactly what the best situation is for the best outcome. So if you're not doing that legwork before, then it's going to make this process a little bit harder. So it's a two-step, right? It's not only applying the framework, but it's identifying what that ideal client looks like for your business as well.
Right.
That way, when you are using these frameworks, you're able to say, hey, look, we're aligned, or we're a little aligned here, but their timeline isn't really matching mine. So now I know that I've got to go reset that expectation and let them know, hey, look, this is a great fit. I can meet all these needs. I can absolutely hit the mark on the budget that you're looking to stay within. But this timeline that you're really trying to hit, it's going to take me, a week, maybe 2 weeks to onboard you. So, getting the that timeline might be a little bit difficult, so let's reel it back a little bit and reset those expectations and then reevaluate. Okay, are you okay with that? Is that adjustment okay? Are we still aligned and on track, and can we continue to push it forward?
Absolutely.
All right, so I'm going to let Peyton kind of kick it off and take it over now. So once you've asked all those hard questions, you've got all your information, you're seeing if you're aligned, this is how you're going to drive it home. So take it home, Peyton.
Exactly. So you've gone through BANT, you've just finished your discovery, you're in the middle of your sales pitch. What do you do with all of this information? like you're sitting on all this. Now how do you make this effective? How do you actually put this forward? So this is a really incredible strategy, and it's called FAB: features, advantages, and benefits. And how do we use this to explain the features and what it's going to do for the needs of your client in front of you? So again, it's all going back to value, and it all goes back to how are you connected with this person? You're entering a relationship with them. Is it on both sides? Is it equal? And can we fit the needs?
One might say it's fabulous.
Absolutely.
I need a symbol to hit right now.
So right here, explaining the benefits, just using the value statements. I use this with my team. This is how I train my team. And I'm just going to use one of these to just kind of break it down with you guys. So right here, our partners love the multi-tenancy of our platform. This allows you to manage all your clients under one roof without those separate logins, which can be super annoying and stressful. So breaking that down, what is the feature in itself? The multi-tenancy. What is the advantage of that feature? It is going to manage all of your clients under one roof. And then what is that benefit? And the single identifying benefit is it's going to save you time. It is going to save you stress. It is going to save you money.
Exactly. And it's, those value statements come down to, not necessarily what you do, but what you do for them. And, it's just such a key aspect for the client, because you don't have to get too deep into the weeds. You're able to show them that value statement, allowing them to connect the dots and see how that's going to help drive their business forward. Because at the end of the day, it's all about them, and it's what's going to help them in their with their goals and objectives.
100%. And this is also a great way for it to tie right back into BANT, because it's about the value. What are we bringing to the table to be able to fix and help your needs? What are our solutions, and do they help?
Absolutely. If you can immediately come in and mitigate their fears and make them truly believe that you can be, an aid in solving that problem or fixing that pain point. I mean, these value statements do such a great job at coming in and literally just kind of knocking that fear off the table. They're saying, oh, okay, they understand my pain point, they have a solution, and they're going to work with me to fix it. So we're really just trying to get you to that point of the relationship quicker with these types of statements.
Absolutely. 100%.
All right. So I've got a couple examples on the next slide for you guys where it's more tailored to what you guys are seeing every single day. So just right here, let's put this into y'all's perspective right here. Manage IT support and help desk. So you have the feature, all right, proactive monitoring, 24/7 technical support. You've got the benefit. You're going to ensure minimal downtime. You're going to allow your business to operate smoothly without any interruptions, or mostly no interruptions, and leading to increased productivity and reduce operational costs. Same with the cybersecurity services. Sorry, go ahead, Dan, please.
No. I was just going to say, as you're going over, that feature and that benefit, once you start drilling down, at that top level feature, they get to see what you do. But once you start getting into that benefit, they see what you do for them and how it connects to their goals, their objectives, because, they're looking to, become more efficient. They want to be more productive. They want to be more profitable. They want to deliver a better client experience. So they're thinking about, okay, so what you're presenting to me, how do I tie it to those type of goals and objectives?
100%. And sometimes if you don't have an effective way to break that down and kind of go through those layers, it can be jumbled, and you can sometimes have a missed conversation or missed opportunity because you didn't break it down properly or didn't really hear them and fit the need.
Right. Yeah. And if, if they don't get that, and like you said, that missed opportunity, they could be ready for you to leave, and they're going to move on to the next, vendor that's going to come in, and one little missing of the beat could just drop the whole sale.
Absolutely. And this right here is not only going to show what you can do for them, but it's going to build that trust. And that's where it all goes to the closing table.
So tell me a little bit about, as you're, building out your features and benefits, when you take a look at those benefits, are you, do you have some general statements of benefit for, across the board, it's going to reach everybody, or are you drilling those down and customizing them to the needs of that particular client?
I'll be honest, I customize them. That's why I think the discovery is such an important part in sales, because it is a relationship between you and that person, not the whole world, not just one business. It's you and that client right there in front of you. And so you need to sit there and listen and understand them and understand everything that they're needing and asking of you so that you can build and use this right here and break it down and tailor it just for them.
And that
So
can sound a
the,
little bit scary or challenging, especially, MSPs are traditionally, not sales guys, and sales is typically a little bit daunting for them. So just to kind of break it down into more digestible bits, I think it's really important to, if you haven't already, just like you should, go ahead and start creating those checked boxes for your ideal client. Go ahead and put down, all your services or offerings, and what those specific features are, and what the problem that they are fixed, like what is the benefit, what problem are you fixing, how is it helping them. So it kind of starts to paint a picture in your head, and you can explain it even better if you've already done the footwork there. Then once you're going through those discoveries, and they'll say little keywords, right? Like, oh man, I don't have the time for this. So then, okay, so time is the issue. What solutions do I have? What features do I have that's going to help them save time and maximize, their efforts? Then you can go through in your brain and say, okay, these are the top solutions, or these are the top features, and this is what that's how you can start to kind of tailor it specific to that client. So you got to do a little bit of homework first, a little bit of legwork. That way you can use these frameworks to the full potential.
Which is why putting up, like, getting a piece of paper and putting BANT on your paper and going all the way down to timeline and just writing out that note. Sometimes it might seem a little silly, but again, it's all about breaking with that layer and simplifying the whole process.
Yeah. And I think,
Absolutely.
I think patience is critical too. I mean, if you're new to the sales process, it takes time, for you to, as Alex was saying, that you have some of these in your head that you can grab from. It takes time to, deliver, 20, 30, 40, 50 of these presentations, to know and to be able to just pull them out so quickly. And it's okay. It's a building block. And before too long, you're not even thinking about it. You're just pulling them out and delivering them based on, the customization of their needs.
Absolutely.
100%. It's like tying your shoe or writing your name. Once you know it, once you've got it on paper, it just starts flowing.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. When I first started, I came into OIT as just a BDR. And I remember that was at the top of my page for my notes, every sales call. And before I knew it, I was just jotting down notes at that point. I wasn't even writing on paper anymore. I was just typing in my notes, and Salesforce being like, okay, this is what they need at the time. So it does start to be second nature to you. But if this isn't something you've heard before, if this is new to you, then, it is a good framework to follow. So you can start, programming your mind to think that way, so that you can, obviously provide the best services to your clients and make sure that you are aligning appropriately.
Absolutely. And I think, you mentioned, as far as like writing those down, and having that at the top of your paper. I mean, that is, it's the simplest things like that is what helps us to stay on track. I think as we take a look at our own businesses, I always like to say, look at your own, look at vendors that come to you, look at, even, your own home. You got people doing door knocking or someone calling you to sell you something. Look at every one of those experiences and see how they've done their discovery, how they're identifying, your needs, and see where they're missing, where are the gaps in their presentation. And, are they eager just to close the deal because they just want to close the deal? Or are they truly and genuinely concerned and want to learn about what your needs are, and then trying to put in front of that solutions to accomplish that. And I think it's, I love looking at some scenarios, because I sit there and, you listen to someone and you're like, you don't really care about me. You just want a sale. Or you're sitting there thinking, you know what, they have asked some questions that I didn't even think of, and I am so grateful that, they have helped me to think through the process. And I love those scenarios where they're truly, truly, truly solutions oriented, and they have a passion when they wake up about helping others. And we can help them in so many ways, because again, technology is such a critical tool in helping them to accomplish their goals and objectives, that we take so much of that for granted. And there are so many things that we have to anticipate, anticipating their needs and just helping to think through that process.
Absolutely. I mean, you said it pretty perfectly, Dan. I think that that's why asking those qualifying questions are so important, because it really does make the client feel valued, and like you do care about, helping them and getting them to where they want to go. You're not just coming in and saying, oh, this is my product and this is my offering and this is my price and this is why you should buy it. No, you're taking time to get to know them and their business, and you're hearing them out on, their previous, pain points and where they've struggled. And, then you're recommending very specified, solutions tailored to their very specific needs. So it really takes it, out of that salesy, because we've always seen, the sleazy sales guy mentality stuff that, everyone kind of attributes sales to. It takes you out of that category and really puts you into, like I said before, that prescriptive selling mindset. And when you are asking those questions, you're giving them a chance to talk and respond. And I can tell you right now, if you're doing the majority of the talking in the sales call, they are not signing the deal.
Right. Yeah.
You want them to do the majority of the talking. They should be telling you what they need, and then you should be recommending, how you can help, or, how you can push it forward to the goal line. But if you're doing the majority of the talking, then you're doing something wrong.
I remember early on in my sales career, that's how it used to be. Because you don't know what you don't know, so you just get so excited. You just got your products and you just start feature dumping, because you're just like, I can help you. And then it goes to a point where you're finally like, it goes from being sales to a consultant, where you're sitting there and you're actually having real conversations, and you actually are dedicated to their mission and their goals and what they're doing. And it's no longer just like, I'm selling you something, I'm partnering with you, because I can't wait to see the end of that success as well.
Yeah.
And that's why the FAB comes after the BANT, right? Because you want to ask those qualifying questions first. You want to get to know them first. You want to see if you're aligned first before you start fabbing all over them.
Exactly.
But
honestly,
and
with the so go ahead, Alex.
I was gonna say, I feel like we kind of took over your page, so I'll let you get through the rest of
it worked
MSP's
perfectly.
Perspective.
Because the next slide is actually, it's all about the conversation, because right here, it is just the features, it is just the benefits, but how do we turn these into conversations? How do we sit there and actually engage with somebody? So on the next slide, we kind of put that together.
Excellent.
So explaining these benefits using these value statements. So again, you just saw all the features, all the benefits right there on that other slide. So now how do we talk about it? So right here, our clients feel safe knowing they are protected from cyber threats and costly data breaches, and empowered to recognize phishing attempts, enhancing both security and peace of mind. That right there is an excellent way of both explaining the features and benefits by just having a simple conversation with the person in front of you.
Right.
So instead of saying, oh, this is what we offer and this is why you should have it, you could just use one simple value statement, and it clicks. They get it because they understand how you're helping them. So that's the main goal.
But you, on your notes, of course, on the other side, during that entire discovery that you were sitting there and listening, are writing right there how you can go ahead and tie this back at the end of the conversation.
So it's a tie back. So after you get through, the presentation, the, demo meeting, whatever it is, then you can go back and say, okay, well, this is what you told me. These are the challenges and the problems that you're facing. And, we've had experience with our clients who have had similar challenges, and they love this because it fixes that problem. So that's when you can kind of use these value statements to tie back and help close that deal, because you're giving them the reassurance that you're going to be able to accomplish everything that you've told them.
Yeah. And I vividly recall some of my very early managed sales opportunities, getting in front of clients, 20 some years ago. And, hey, we provide antivirus. We do remote monitoring and management of your systems. And, so it was more, focused on all those individual things. And then once you start to, see the reaction from those prospects where they're like not interested, right? Those are geeky, flashy, blinky light type stuff that gets us excited, but it doesn't get them excited. And, I've always sold managed services after those days is, teaching them about more the crystal ball approach to managing IT than the magic 8 ball approach, right? We
I
can
like
work
that.
with you. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because proactive technology management is about being proactive, identifying strengths and weaknesses in their environment, and helping to ensure that they are safe, secure, efficient, productive, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But again, I mean, I say those things without knowing the true needs and desires of that client, right? Each particular client has different needs and they have different desires. And so, based on learning those, we can alter our approach. It might be very similar to what we say to another client, but it's
Hmm.
different that connects with them. And words matter, right? What we say,
Absolutely.
how we say it makes a huge difference in the process.
That kind of goes back to your original statement. Like, is there a way to like do this for everyone? And it's like, actually, there is a way, but it's just adding that personal touch to each one.
Right. Yeah, because the underlying component of what you're going to do is going to be the same, but
Each time,
how it's
but
connecting to them is different.
every single time. No, I completely agree. Which is why this can be both so easy, but also as long as you gotta have that listening skill.
Yeah,
And
and like Alex was saying, if you're the only one talking, it's that whole 80/20 rule, right? And if you're spending 80% of the time talking, and we discuss this on our calls, is we got to stop talking about ourselves. We are not that exciting, we're not that important, we're not that exciting. We got to talk about them, and that draws them into the conversation. That becomes that business owner to business owner or business leader to business leader conversation where if you can master that, you start to develop a relationship. I have had so many clients that, you go and sit down for a technology business review, and we're talking about things that have nothing to do with the services we deliver, because they have built and they've got this trust in you. They've identified you as a resource. So, I've had some clients that are moving offices, or they're going through a merger, and they're talking about, some branding things. And it's just like, it's so rewarding because they look at you as this very valuable resource, and that helps become sticky, right? I mean, you still got to deliver
Hmm.
good quality product or service, but it's you that they're buying from, and they love, people love to buy from people that they know and trust.
Hmm.
absolutely.
No, I agree. And it is rewarding, and it does come down to that trust factor, which at the end of the day will close every single time.
Absolutely. All right, let's go to our did you want to keep touching on those one there?
No,
Did
no,
you cover?
yeah, I felt like I covered them. I won't read all of them. Luckily, we all got eyes.
Yeah.
But yeah, just it's breaking down the pieces, and then once you take a little bit of time to break down those pieces and you say, okay, these are all my features, these are all the benefits, then you can start creating these value statements. That way you're not just feature dumping on people. You're taking the time, figuring out what they need, and then you're going and applying these value statements to reinforce what you've already conveyed that you can do for them.
Absolutely. And as Mr. Bond says here, salesperson should be a resource at the end of the day. Totally, 100%.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what an MSP is, right? You're the trusted advisor. They come to you looking for, the recommendations. You are very consultative. So, that's the role you should, that's the lane you should try to stay in. You don't ever want to just, be pushing things. You want to make sure that it is very tailored to, their specific needs. This next slide touches on something we were talking about before, but this is a podcast I found that was discussing sales discoveries, and one of the quotes that I just really fell in love with was that 80% of the sales process happens in the discovery, and that is when the prospects decide to buy, right? This is their first impression of you. They're interviewing you, you're interviewing them, but if you don't do a proper discovery and really qualify these leads, and you really position yourself as a solution provider, that prescriptive selling mindset, then you could really blow it, and not even mean to. As salespeople, we get excited, right? We're passionate about what we're selling. So, and if you're not, then you're probably not in the right space. So,
Yeah.
but sometimes that passion can come through just a little bit too much. So you really want to make sure, you're taking the time, you're understanding their needs, you're doing a proper discovery, because this is the most important call. It's that first impression. It's that first date. So you want to make sure that you put your best foot forward, right? And we're going to share this slide deck after too. So if anyone wants to go listen to this podcast, they'll be able to. I'm not going to play it right now for you guys.
And read
highly
the room. Read the room. Right?
Yeah, read the room. Yes.
The room.
So I did want to just jump back to that last portion of BANT for timeline, because this one it's so important. So not only does it, really set you up to make sure that you're aligned so that you can push forward, but, a few things can be discovered here, right? So you can say, they say, oh, you know what? Well, I'm actually still on contract. So I'm just doing some preemptive, research, and I'm really not going to be able to make any decisions until the end of the year. That's okay. That's not a no. That's a not right now. And now know not to waste your time following up with them every week, every month until you can get an answer. Now okay, they don't want to hear from me until the end of the year. And you can say, okay, thanks for giving me your timeline. When would you like to hear back from me? Are you going to be making this decision in November, December? When would be the best time for me to reach back out? You want to go ahead and have a confirmed date or time that you're going to meet with them again. Even if it's not a physical meeting invite that you're sending over, just getting that verbal confirmation of, hey, it's okay for you to reach back out to me at this time. They're going to be so much more likely to pick up that phone call or answer that email if they are expecting it. If you don't take the time to make sure you get that confirmation, you may reach back out and they're not expecting it. They've already talked to 5 other companies. Maybe they don't remember you. Who knows what it is? But just getting that confirmation is such an advantage. And if you don't, you're doing yourself a disservice. So I think that's another really big portion to why the timeline piece is so important. And another thing that may come up here as well is they may tell you that they're shopping other people. They're saying, oh, well, no, I'm not ready to go ahead and schedule another meeting for a follow-up. I've got 2 other demos booked, so I'll get back to you after I get through those. Don't be afraid to ask them, one, who they're researching. Say, oh, if you don't mind telling me who you're looking into, if I have any insight into how we may differ or compare, I'm happy to share that with you. Most of the time, every prospect I've ever talked to has given me the information, and I at least know 1 or 2 of them, and I'm able to give them some insights into how we compare or contrast. And the prospects really appreciate that. And sometimes they'll even go as far as telling you the date and time that demo is booked. And if they do, you better say, say, hey, well, is it okay if I check back in with you that day or the day after just to see
Yeah.
how it went, get your feedback, even if maybe we're not the best aligned. You can tell me, what you liked better. We love to stay competitive in the space. It gives you an opportunity to see, what else is out there and how you can maybe level up your game. So I think that this portion is really important for that as well. And you need to make sure you're not skipping over that timeline piece, because this is really what is going to set you up for success with the follow-up to be able to close that deal if you're not closing it that day.
Yeah, and I think another thing too is that we often feel as if we're asking questions that we shouldn't be asking, and they're 100% okay to ask. Especially in those timeline or who they're meeting with and when they're meeting with them. That just shows that you truly are wanting to be all encompassing as far as this entire sales process. And if the time isn't right for them, the thing that I always say is, we're not going anywhere. We're here for you when the time is right. And, in identifying when that time frame is, you got to make sure that you're recording that. And Alex, were you going to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say absolutely, right? That it's so important, because also too, it brings it all back to that time is money piece. And if you're not asking these questions and then in your head, you're just like, oh, I'll just follow up with them next week. And then they're not answering, You're following up the next week. Then you're maybe moving it to a monthly check-in, and you're just wasting your time at this point, right? Because when you could have just asked a simple little question that would have set you up for success, and then you would have got the response that much quicker. So this is really, it's going to help save you time and save you money and effort, right? Which is what we all want to do. No one wants to waste their time or anyone else's, hopefully. So this is really a key factor in making sure that you don't do that.
I had a good fun coach way back in the day where I wasn't asking specific questions. I was just too nervous. I just was like, my nerves were just getting to me, and I didn't think about it. And he looked at me and he was like, all right, Peyton, hungry mouths don't get fed if they stay closed.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. And I just started just like risking it for the biscuit a little bit and asking these questions and realizing they ended up being very positive. One, you were finding out timelines. They were actually either setting timelines or getting information or thinking of things on the spot. They're like, oh, wait, I do need to do that. Thank you. Yeah, actually, let's meet on X date and I'll have this for you by then. And then when you follow up them, you have the expectation to go, hey, you said you'd have this for me. Are you ready to discuss this? If not, we can reset new deadlines.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. The timeline doesn't have to be, etched in stone, but it does give you that confidence that, hey, look, they're expecting my call. It's okay for me to reach out. It kind of alleviates a little bit of that fear that I feel like some people may have associated around sales. And like Peyton said, hungry mouths don't get fed, risk it for the biscuit. It may seem a little bit daunting to, ask some of these questions. The timeline is one that's typically a little like people are scared to ask. Maybe the budget's a little scared to ask, but I think that you'll find once you do start asking these questions, they're really forthcoming. I mean, it is far fewer times that I have had a prospect tell me no, that they don't want to give me that information, versus on the other side of just giving me the information and honestly being really appreciative of it. Because at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're respecting their time and yours, and everyone values respect. So that translates through, and it really just further builds that trust between you and that prospect, which pushes you further along to actually having a relationship, which is pushing you along to actually having them as a partner or a client or, whatever it is for you.
Yeah, and I'm just taking a look at a comment here saying that I do that and actually hype up the other company. LOL. I usually say, your industry needs this and this. If you don't choose us, go with company A or B, not C and D. And I'll just kind of expand on that a little bit. When you talk about identifying if they are shopping other services, I've had this happen. In cases, one of our second largest opportunity that we had, back over 20 years ago. One of the things that we found out is because, our solution was over $25,000 a year, they had to go out to bid. This is basically part of their protocol. And, so I started learning about who the other companies were that were bidding. And one particular one, they truly weren't a managed services provider. They were just a break fix provider that was offering remote support. And so now, obviously, tactfully and respectfully, I explained it to them, hey, I just want to let you know that they're not a traditional. So when you take a look at us in company B, company C, they're not, so they're, this other one is D, they're not quite what traditional managed services providers are. And so I remember them coming back to me and they said, you know what, you were spot on. What they presented was completely different than what you and the other two were presenting. And where I get a good kick out of the comment of hyping the other ones up. I've had scenarios where I've been up against MSPs that are friends of mine, and and I've said, Brian, he's a great guy. He has a great company. There's nothing I can say that about him that would be concerning for you. But at the end of the day, I'm here, and this is where we will have greater strength over any of the other competitors out there, right? And it's so when you learn about who they're getting bids from, you can help them out. You can give some pointers and just walk them through that process. And
No.
obviously stay away from being disparaging, about the
Oh
competition
boy.
because yeah.
Because
Of course,
I love what Mr. Bond said, who doesn't appreciate some friendly competition. Because I agree, and I liked what you said, like identify what your strengths are, have integrity in your solutions, because this is a
Yeah.
community, and we are about community. And some people might fit the needs of somebody that's in front of you if you don't fit their needs, and there's nothing wrong with that.
absolutely. And it just goes back to, that first statement that I told you. I want you to not forget, not every prospect equals the ideal client. So maybe it's not a good fit for you. And maybe you can recommend a better solution for them because you just don't align. And really the appreciation that comes through with being able to offer that. I mean, wow, you just never know. They might come back, in a year later and say, hey, look, it wasn't a good fit now, but because you did this, I want to work with you. And now I'm ready to be your client or be your partner. I mean, that type of level of service, you can't beat it.
Yeah. I mean, and it is surprising the number of scenarios like that where you might lose out on an opportunity, but they may come back around because especially if you truly identify that they're shopping on price. And I think sometimes it takes an organization to live through that in order to really understand why, but you want to be able to help them as much as possible to avoid that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I couldn't agree more.
So I had to put a little funny in here for you guys.
I love that one.
Resting pitch face. Look, guys, always be smiling. Okay. Like if you are not excited and passionate about what you're doing, then maybe go do something else because it's going to transfer through. They are
Yeah.
going to see it. If you are not excited to be on that call, and it's hard, right? We're all humans. We all have personal lives. We have things going on. And, sometimes you can't help but let it transfer over. But when you're in sales, you've got to be able to either flip the switch and turn it off and turn it on and separate it, or you need to honestly reschedule that meeting if you can't get your head right, because the client isn't going to understand where that energy is coming from, and they're going to take it as, it's going to put a barrier there for you guys. So you've got to get your heads right. You got to put your pitch face on. You got to be excited. You got to be smiling. You've got to be engaged. That's a part of it. So
And I like that you said over the phone as well, because let me tell you guys, these people can hear a frown right through the phone. I'm telling you.
Yes.
It is like when you pick up that phone, go ahead and start smiling. They're going to hear the tone whistle all the way through.
Right. Yeah. It is interesting, again, going back to using your own personal experiences when you are calling out, for something at home, some kind of a service that you might have, or somebody's calling you can tell when somebody, likes what they do. You can truly tell when someone's just going through the motions and, they couldn't care less, so it's just one of those things that, that smile, definitely, like you said, Peyton, people can see that over the phone.
Oh yeah, they can hear it, the tone, the inflection, if you're off your game, if you're not truly listening to them, they pick up on that, and it does make a difference. And, bringing it back to that slide with the podcast, this is your first impression. 80% of this deal is writing on this call. So you really need to make sure you're on it 100%. And if you can't be, then reschedule it, because you're going to end up doing more harm than good.
Yeah, absolutely. Resting pitch face. I love it.
You're better than Jim Carrey, right?
Yeah, right. So we do have some QR codes for you guys today as well, because I know you all love them so much. But if anyone does want to take this slide deck home with them, review it, put it into action, that first QR code is so you can have a copy of this deck that we presented today. And then we also wanted just to do a little bit more, right? We wanted to give you a little bit more. So that second QR code is actually a breakdown of BANT and how to put it into action, all written down on paper a little bit deeper, so you can actually use that page during your discovery calls. And it tells you how to effectively use it and put it into action, in even more detail than we kind of just went through conversationally. So I wanted to give you a few little action items to take home and actually put into play here, so everyone is able to bring something away from today.
Absolutely. And, just taking a look at a couple of the comments, I always love a good monotone salesperson. Yes. Don't we all, right?
Hey, look.
And then, I weirdly
I
talk
like
with my hands when I'm on the phone. Wonder if they can see that too. Yes, they can totally
The more they
see.
dance, the more you close.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yes. And, yeah.
I did. I liked that one. That was funny.
That is good. That is good. And thank you guys for putting, making the slide deck and those notes available. Some bonus material for everybody today.
Absolutely.
You have to, right? So I always love it when you go to trade shows and you hear these, amazing presentations and these topics, and you're like, oh man, that was so amazing. And then you go home and, you forget it. You've consumed so much information, so much is going on. You've met so many people, and you're like, oh man, I wish I would have, maybe taken some notes or had some notes from that, so I could really put it into action when I get back home. So I've seen that done a few times at a few different trade shows now. And I was just like, oh wow, you know what? That's the little bit extra more that I like to see, and I want to provide as well. So hopefully someone enjoys it and takes it and puts it back into play, and it's useful and helpful for them, because that's what we're trying to do here today.
Absolutely. So any, as we work to wrap things up here, any final pieces of advice from, Alex or Peyton that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, I think just really, like I said before, if you take nothing else away from today, just remember that, not every deal that comes across your table is the right deal and needs to be closed. Not every prospect is the ideal client. So really take some time, do your homework, create that checklist. What does the perfect client look like for you? If you don't know, then how can, when you're doing these discoveries, how can you align them if you don't even know what that looks like? So a little bit of homework for everyone. Make sure you're doing the legwork, doing the footwork to go identify what that client looks like to you, so that you can appropriately use these frameworks and use BANT and ask those qualifying questions to say, hey, look, man, this is my golden goose egg of a client. This is what I've been waiting for. Yes, I want this one to close the deal. Or on the opposite side, oh man, we got some red flags here. Joe from down the road is not going to happen for me. He's going to ask me so many questions. He's going to put in 20 tickets a day. I'm going to have to go on site, 4 or 5 times a week, and it's going to cost me more time than that MMR. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel this one out right away, because, salespeople and, anyone new coming in, maybe starting their own business, that's what they want to do, right? They want that money coming in. They want to close those deals. But if you're a little quick to close, it may end up costing you more time and more money than you realize. And we don't want anyone to be put in that situation, because, canceling a client is never fun.
Right. And this is where, when you have these conversations, it's like, the responses typically are, I've had conversations with MSPs about, some opportunities that are in front of them. And I'm like, I really don't see this as a good fit for you. And then there's always the but you realize how much they want to spend. That's great. But if it's not the right fit for your organization, you don't, onboarding a client, bringing on a client takes a lot of time, energy, and money. And if that's not the right fit for the long term, and you're finding yourself in a position in which you're like, you know what, I think we need to part ways. We need to fire this client because they're not a fit. Well, you're going to look back and you say, you know what, I saw those signs early on, but I didn't listen to them. So listen to those signs that you get. And, when, I'm a firm believer of, trusting your gut. If your gut tells you this is not the perfect opportunity, it's okay to walk away. And it's not only those components of like, hey, are they going to pay the bill on time? Do they truly value technology, where they're going to want to continue to invest in technology? Those things. But then there's also those things that are, those one-off type scenarios where sometimes people come to you and they're like, hey, I want to do this. And it's not really in your wheelhouse, but you could do it. You got to stay in your lane. And it comes down.
You really have to. Yeah. And even more so, I mean, if it's not just you and you do have a team, I mean, think about what you're putting your team through with onboarding a client that doesn't align with your service offerings. You're going to burn out your team. You're going to have a lot of churn. You're going to have to be finding replacements. And that's even harder sometimes. So you really want to take a step back and look at the bigger picture and say, hey, is this client really, a good fit, or is it going to end up doing me and my company and my team a disservice here? And, is it going to cause them, more stress maybe?
Yeah. And just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Absolutely. A hard lesson we all have to learn in many different areas in life, I think.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Peyton, any final words from you, my friend?
If you can take anything from anything I've said, dare to be afraid, dare to ask those questions, and dare to write them down, because everything you want is on the other side of fear.
Yes, totally.
And also remember, BANT before FAB.
Yes.
Don't feature dump on them. Make sure you qualify before you start being fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Totally. All right, Alexandria and Peyton, thank you so much for being here today, sharing your wealth of knowledge. Always enjoy having conversations with you guys. And thank you so much for your time, as well as all of our audience members. Thank you for listening to us. And until next time, we'll talk to you soon. Take care, everybody.
Thanks so much, Dan. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.